modern societies. And that is the major distinction between modern societies and pre-modern societies. Today, when we look around us, we see that most transactions are characterized by trust, but this is a recent phenomenon. When we look back just a couple of 100 years ago, if someone were to leave their home village or town to go to a faraway place, perhaps the most important item that person was carrying would be letters of introduction to people in that remote place. It would be those letters of introduction that would enable them to set up a network with which to begin business or any kind of network. The circle of trust was limited to friends and family. The journey of modern civilization about building modern societies has been about expanding that circle of trust. Today, scientists tell us that human beings are hardwired to live in small communities of perhaps 150 to 200 people. And the story of modern civilization, of building modern society, is about expanding that circle of trust. Societies grow when they are able to build institutional mechanisms that enable very diverse kinds of people who do not know each other, who are not related to each other, to be able to work together. Think about it. In modern societies, we depend on trust for practically everything that we do. When we go out to the market to buy milk, we do so in the knowledge that it's safe to buy that milk. When we go out to buy food or eat in a restaurant, we do so in the knowledge that it is safe to do so. We keep our money in banks, safe in the knowledge that the bank will not violate our trust. We order commodities on e-commerce platforms, again safe in the knowledge that we will not be cheated. How do we expand those levels of trust? It is these that enable diverse people to work together. If you were to look at even a very small project, say a school science project, this is something that becomes very, very visible. Let's say a group of students were asked to build a robo that is controlled by a mobile phone. What is it that they would need to do? They would need to come up with a design. They would need to identify what are the parts of the design. They would need to build a frame to put all those parts together. And then each of them depends upon every individual to perform the task that is allocated to them. That's how the design works. Let us scale this up. Let's talk about something that is more important to us in terms of our personal security, the security of the home that we live in. When we leave our homes, we close the windows, we lock the doors. Many people install very costly locks on the doors. Some even go to the extent of installing closed-circuit television. Now think about living in a locality that was safe. Well, in a locality that was safe, you would not need to spend so much time and money on securing your home. You would be able to step out and think of the mental pressure that is reduced and that allows us to spend so much more time on more meaningful tasks. We can spend that time in doing work, we can spend that time in our leisure activities with our beloved ones. If we were to scale this up to a whole society that is safe, once again we see that the tremendous amount of resources would be released to allow people to live better. Let's go back a little in history. In history, I would like to talk about this example of the wives of one of the great Mughal kings. Now this queen, she was a famous merchant of her times. She was a very big trader. She routinely ran cargoes from the coast of Gujarat to the coast of Arabia in ships that ranged anywhere from 400 to 800 tons. Now herein there was a problem. The problem was that the sea lanes in those days were controlled by the Portuguese, and they would often stop ships, levy a tax, and for people who were unwilling to pay their tax, goods would be confiscated, there was the threat of violence, and so on. One way out of these troubles was to travel in a group, a convoy of ships. A convoy of ships gave you security. You could arrange attack boats for the safety of the convoy. But here there was also a choice. This was something that this queen was not willing to do, and we have a lot of documentation about this. In that, whenever a merchant travels to a new market, they all want to be the first in the marketplace, because the first in the marketplace is the one who secures the best bargain. And this is something that involves sacrificing your own individual profit for a collective goal. This was something that this queen was unwilling to do. You would also need to make space on your deck, the deck of your ship, for cannons rather than more merchandise. Essentially, there was a choice involved. Faced with a choice, this queen preferred to maximize her own profit over enabling the profits of all others. In the short run, she made profits. In the long run, the losses kept on mounting. And the British, they functioned very, very differently. They arranged for people to travel in convoys and for small attack boats to safeguard those convoys. We find extensive discussions in the writings of the people of the East India Companies, Dutch, French, Portuguese, British, wondering about why is it that the Indians found it so difficult to travel in convoys. And gradually, that is how the British East India Company took over India. And the irony of the fact is that at that time, our country was 10 times as rich as the United Kingdom. It was not just in terms of money, it was also the case in terms of technology. One of the greatest battles of the Anglo-Maratha wars was the Battle of Assaye of 1803. The British won that battle. After that battle, the Duke of Wellington, who was the British commander-in-chief, he records that the Indian guns, the Maratha guns, were far superior to those of the English. The Maratha soldiers fought with far greater valor and bravery than the British soldiers. The British won because they were able to build up a system of trust in which they could coordinate the energies of so many people. Coming to modern times, that is the task that is before us now. How do we devise systems that enable different people to work together? Think about road traffic. On the road, if each car, each truck, each motorcycle were to decide when to move, when to stop, when to go left, when to go right, there would be chaos. It's because everyone follows a standard system of rules that they are able to work together. The same is true of any other social system. Society is a well-oiled mechanism, and the ability to trust each other, to work together, it is that which enables that entire mechanism to function. If we were to look around us and look at how Indian businesses function, one of the greatest costs that they pay is that they are never sure whether their money is coming, whether it's coming on time. And cases of bounced checks clog up the Indian justice system. Going forward, I think that this is the great task before us of working to find mechanisms by which we can trust each other, by which we can work together, by which we can expand this circle of trust so that we can work with people whom we are not related to, whom we do not know, but whom we can trust to work together. That is the society of tomorrow that we need to craft. Thank you. Jai Hind.